Thank you, dear. Your service to the Bureau is
So we're about to get started. Please find a seat. We're very happy to have you here tonight for three lovely poets. One of whom has read at our opening, grand opening at Strange Loop Gallery, Joseph Whitt. Thank you very much. November 15th, 2012. Yes, we're that old. So I'm going to first welcome Joseph to the stage after I read his lengthy biography. No, they're not lengthy. Originally from Alabama, Joseph Whitt is an artist, writer, and independent curator living and working in New York City. His work has been presented at MoMA PS1, PPOW Gallery, iDrum, Deitch Projects, CRG Gallery, Envoy Enterprises, and Interstate Projects, and has been reviewed in the New York Times, Flash Art, and Sculpture. His writings have appeared in Art Papers, Art US, Useless Magazine, and K48. He has released 2 chapbooks of poetry, 09-2912 and Defriendings, both from TMI Limited, and is currently working on a 3rd. And both of those chapbooks are available here at the Bureau for purchase.
You're welcome.
Woo! Hello.
Your seat's up here.
I got this shirt.
So Joy Division. Right, so a lot of I've never read any of these before, so they're kind of an experiment. New shit. So these are 17 tapas experiences. All right, so bear with me, please.
There are seats
Please
available
enable
up here.
You said tapas?
Tapas.
That's Spanish for
Tapas.
snack.
All right. No need to look. Oh, anyway, I'm sorry. This is my acoustic album. And one day, he woke up and realized that he had finally done all of the things that he had set out to do. And from that day forward, he simply lived his life, and he often surprised himself. The moment that a child recognizes its own voice is trauma. Little wonder one's first word is often mama. Not mother, not mom, mama. It's y'all, not you. Supper, not dinner. Something coddled and swaddled and louche. Mama is absolute nudity forever, pointing south for divination. She is so, so, so beautiful. Mama, the only word unburdened by language. 3. If you draw a diagram of the act of networking, it does not look like a fractal. It looks like a flowchart. This is scientific proof that networking is not natural. Can you see where my head's been at lately? Where's number 4? Oh. This is for Renee Ricard. Her awareness creates its own etiquette. I can only kiss her hand, savor her smirk. Her skin feels like red cape slid over the head of an animal. Such bullshit and magic.
Most moralists struggle to maintain eye contact. This is proof that those of you looking at the floor while I'm reading this are silently judging me. Okay. A pure tone sung into an echo chamber was humanity's first special effect. Its lasting religiosity is also its imprint upon our DNA. We'd all do well to revisit some old songs. Ongs, ongs, ongs. I'll nix that one next time.
A little didactic there, Joseph.
This is called A minor. Okay, oh. A minor, note in a major key, said Jan van Eyck on ecstasy, is sleight of hand as I can, both best and worst, a lady's first, a repoussoir for my master framer. That's number 8. Where's number 8? Ah. God tapered my fingers in anticipation of this screen. I'm writing an awkwardly paced love story and naming the protagonists Hunt and Peck. Being entertaining has gotten me nowhere. Being entertaining has made me nearsighted, planning a path only as far as my hand can see. It's so postmodern to be this nonlinear. Studies have shown that vegans who swallow are less likely to develop pollen allergies. Kevin, where are you? I wrote a poem for you. For Kevin. And as the plane began its death dive, he still resented the cry of the toddler in his ear, never spanked. Fuckity fuck fuck fuck, I say, fuckity fuck fuck fuck. I'll buy you a drink. Sorry. All right, wrapping it up here. Status updates from an Alzheimer's patient. let me just like, save your laughter for later. Status updates from an Alzheimer's patient. Dreams of feral children transcribed into glossolalia. Mariachi cover band playing Freebird in Capistrano. Body by God. Fashion by Who Gives a Shit. Entrance music by John Cage. Crowd pleasing in an overpopulated world. Genetic memories versus karma. The path of a flaneur polished with the sweat of a father. A toe tag that reads like a footnote. An angel, an albino on the inside. Etiquette, party of one. No reservations. Jesus jaywalking across the Tennessee River. Epiphanies of empathies in parentheses. A tongue twister in arthritic sign language. A young girl moves to the city. A young girl moves to the city. A young girl moves to the city. A country road, a tree, evening, leaving. This is called A Valley Cottage. Can you get through this life with a good heart? Yes, he said. His eyes are a master class in love. I like to close my eyes, then open them to a page of Braille as a reminder that there are higher dimensions in this life to explore. Sometimes without my glasses, with my eyes full of tears, the shape of the water acts as a perfect lens, and I can see clearly, again, until I blink. I wrote a song for a friend of mine who's in a band called Fisher Spooner. They're an electro band. And they're working on a new record, and I've never written a song before, and I'm going to try this. He's trying to marry music to this. So I'm going to read this as a poem, and it may or may not work. It's called Chemical Cascade. In dopamine and oxytocin lies the limbic urge of smearing lotion. This adrenaline is a slavery, serotonin shot inside of me. What's inside of me? Sacred chemistry. What's inside of me? Cursive symphony, writhing into me, fractal serpentine, transubstantiate, blood to wine, milk pools in your navel, my fingertip, drawing figure eights from a solid grip. I can taste your soul in these androgens, cascading love of the difference between you and me is predestiny of our chemistry. It's inside of me, and testosterone is the voice of God, and testosterone is the voice of God. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. So next up, I'm going to say the whole name. We have Xeňa Stanislavovna Semjonova. Okay, I'll work on it. Xeňa is a poet, artist, and a translator living in New York City, originally from Slovakia. Oh, okay. She has performed in venues such as Dixon Place, Bowery Poetry Club, The Poetry Project, Radar, Spectrum NYC, Strange Maine, Happy Endings, Girls on Film, Nicholas Robinson Gallery, and others. She was selected as a 2013 Poets House Fellow and was also the recipient of the 2013 QAM Fellowship. She is currently working on her first full-length novel entitled She, and is curator of the What Now audio anthology, supported by the Jerome Foundation and the Raymond Federman Foundation of Experimental Fiction. Xeňa.
Where's Joseph? Where are you? Oh, there you are. Maybe also there could be a Tool song. Did anyone?
That's so much better.
Right?
Oh
Hi, so I'm Xeňa. You did a really good job.
Thanks. I was a little nervous.
I figured I just asked him to just say my first name like Cher, but you really went for it. Thank you. All right. Dear John, thank you for letting me stay in your apartment when I was 19. I redecorated it in my mind. I thought that reupholstering a whole couch wasn't a big deal. As replacement, I opened the fold of lavender pleats in leather, pleats in 3D, they're accordion pleats. As replacement, cotton is sufficient. In cotton, there is a street. On the street, I play at homelessness. On the street, we decided to wear hats. With the TV, I can't think without the TV on, I think without, with a croissant. In a long, narrow hallway, the dissonant croissant, who rules? Mallarmé spent most of his life in relative poverty, being famed for salons, but I can't read him because my French is spotty. And it would be disgraceful, like trying to eat spaghetti in front of a YouTube video of pasta, the world of pasta being endless, the tradition going all the way back to Paleolithic times. Young bodies become old slow. Immigrant bodies arrive on boats. The muscular fag body, the girl with the asymmetrical haircut, the photographer who starts doing commercial work and then travels on assignment. When I did it to you laughed and tumbled down a hill towards the bay we tumbled, towards the ocean, towards the water, towards a trough. Recycling banana bark into indigenous outfits, surely they don't move well, but thick in their oldness, tubular breasts rest. Contemporary attitude shifts towards cotton shifts. Everyone is laughing. Doing so good so far? I don't even know, it gets so, like, I was thinking when you were up here, Joseph, like, it gets so incredibly quiet at poetry readings, and so you don't know if you're bombing or not. And it's just, like, it really can, like, it psychs you out, so you kind of, like, start trembling and, like, making jokes, and let's just keep on going.
I know if you need a drink.
Okay. I don't want to work for free for you, not because I don't love you, I do, but you know, I'm tired of working for you, and I know that you don't mean it to fuck me up the ass, but you do. Or maybe you mean it, but I forgive you, us bisexuals. I'm kidding, I'm a lesbian. Getting a sense of the kind of crowd. Alright, this is a long one. It's called Pes, ktorý šteká nehryzie, which means a dog that howls, doesn't bite. Alternate version of this is boys in Brooklyn have drugs for their STDs now, so I think it's appropriate to read. And then the dog comes galloping in the cold air, having shut itself outside of itself, being ground. The drag queen's lair becomes full of naked guys in Speedos, swaying to 60s Copacabana music, her brow being filled, her brow a filled, haunchy gondola. And a cup is killing me softly with her song with Copacabana, transforming the meat to guess to my oven face a dog. I own him, his pelt so good, is a potato fry in its slide from potato to fry. I was there, like I couldn't believe it, that I knew how to light a match. Takes one to know one, so chasing hands, 5 holding hands, cherub peepees held in hand round necks with flowers halt, as thin razor legs, toothpicks through them, a bent peace sign ablaze, a bent boy with a visor so. Dark forces have been chasing me, says, into toilets with balmy boys and feathers, wrapping soft, choking hands with manicure on the lens whose sheen of opulence hammers me. I loved you months ago, and now you're a little bird. Flying at me, I see that you're a little bird, while months ago I thought, wow, a big bird in little bird clothes. Please don't, I can't. The soup tastes like a really horrible memory, and this poem will torture you with similes or horrible alliteration, while in the meanwhile, on a dock, here's a duck in a muck that coughs. Because I couldn't think of a duck that didn't cough or wasn't being a totally weird, lingering creep. All the animal kingdom is... All the animal kingdom is like this trap of Miss Please You Nasty and spare a quarter. So please deliver me, I says you, and the you that hears, listens, and splits. All right, one more and then we take a break and have a beer or something, yeah? All right. Old Robert Plant's dead, his leaves stringy and old. From a rearview mirror, a refreshing tree hangs low. A shirt hangs just right, a stripe accentuates with fractal tones. The stripe bends, the stripe rolls, the stripe's a dog. I count the future, long, deep stabs of it. Eating long and hard like looking no further than the past, swallowing the sword. Thank you.
Break? Do you want a break? Get a beer? No? You can have one brought to you.
Yes.
Donnie, can you get a beer first?
Wow, that's so great.
That's the Bureau of General Services. We provide services. We're about. Next up, we have Kevin Simmonds. Kevin Simmonds is a writer and musician, originally from New Orleans. Sorry. His books include the full-length collections "Bend to It" and "Mad for Meat," both from Salmon Poetry, and the edited works "Collective Brightness, LGBTIQ Poets on Faith, Religion, and Spirituality," Sibling Rivalry Press, and "Ota Benga, Under My Mother's Roof," University of South Carolina. He's composed numerous musical works for voice and chamber ensemble, as well as for stage productions such as Emmett Till, A River, and the Emmy Award-winning documentary Hope, Living and Loving with HIV in Jamaica. A recipient of fellowships and commissions from Cave Canem Creative Work Fund, Fulbright, and the Pulitzer Center, San Francisco Arts Commission, and the Edward Stanley Award from Prairie Schooner, he divides his time between Japan and San Francisco. Welcome, Kevin Simmonds.
Thanks for having me, Jody. You know I love you.
I hope so.
And I will have you tonight.
I love the idea. Now. On video.
Bent. Bent. If the hand defend thee, cut it off. Son as appendage, batty boy. My father, yes, a man's man. Not bent like father, the sissy he tries forgetting. As a man thinketh, so is he. I don't call myself that way. When he says he can't love me this way, I take that to mean the sissy in you I gave to you. That way you are, I crave. That way you are, bend to it. So I'm a recovering fundamentalist Christian, but some of my friends still come to me and say things like, Kevin, pray for me. Book of Acts. Kevin, pray for me.
Nothing to pray to. I knocked it off and I'm better off. Fundamentalist friends who survived the purge know this, but it's a believer's lazy reflex to petition you. A shame, because why do you need a crowd to beseech your father, to feed his own child, take away the cancer that's taken both breasts? I asked the oncologist what I must do to make it easier, any way I can make mercy, so you'll stop asking for it. Altar boy. In black cassock and white cotta, I brought the flame and held the word, holy and lonely like you, Father McCarthy. Your pockmarked cheeks and cheery homilies, the way you intone, Kevin, as if assuring me you knew my lack and need to serve your mass, ready your wine and water, to kneel beside the bells and be careless for nothing on your altar. You were early 30s, but severe, hair in place and parted, a gold signet on your right hand, to clink against the chalice lifted above our faces, all black except yours, then wiped clean with a kerchief I'd laid out starched and white. After I took a saint's name at confirmation, I was done with catechism and started the bleak stations of middle school, those sorrowful stations. I stopped serving, came by occasionally for confession, for midnight mass at Christmas, when the older boys carried your train as you swung the thurible of frankincense, blessing the old ones clutching their beads and crossing themselves, while the young ones like me fought for relevance in the pews. I remember the tie-dye chasuble of your last Easter, its burnt orange and brown silk flooding the aisle as you stepped from the altar to tell us the marvel of resurrection and life of the world to come. 2 years into Whitney's voice, the mixtapes of sophomore year, when I grew out my flat top and kissed a senior, when you were stabbed 5 times, Father, through your throat, some clear down to the spinal bone, but you weren't dead yet. So he wrapped in an electrical cord and pulled both ends until he was tired. And this took 2 tries and a rest in between, but you weren't dead yet. And I was probably watching a rerun of The Cosby Show or sorting out my algebra, just a bus ride away from where he poured salt into your eyes and into your throat on his 8th night there. That was after the claw hammer into your sandy brown hair, the night before he was to leave. But December is a cold month even in New Orleans, and Marcus Hamilton was a muscular man, Father. Put his hands on me every time I got near him, he testified. Neither of you had a chance. True story. I'm gonna read some new poems. Glory. When I return to the faith of my youth, I do so begrudgingly. Impoverished in its ghetto, all those years then, the reversal, still warding off the hex, the hook in my every lip. Pulled from the wreckage of Eden before I could discern the gutting of desire from holiness. The fire hose aimed at me, tearing past the purple bruising into the innocent pink meat, holding back the bones. But that one story, when Moses wants to see God, not just hear his voice, God agrees to pass by. But Moses would have to stay hidden in the cleft of a rock, coming out only to see a trail not unlike a billion starlings at his back. I don't remember what happened, if Moses was satisfied, if he had cracked lips or hair loss, night sweats or aching, a creeping archipelago of melanoma and dry heaves. But I do remember the opened window of water for Peter, dreamy-eyed Jesus and the lasso in his voice, their souls pulsing as only flesh can, snatched back momentarily into the garden. Cage. John Cage was a mycologist, someone who collects and consumes mushrooms. I studied John Cage in music school. I didn't think much of the connection between mushrooms and music. there are many connections. John Cage knew the reticulum, tubes, and teeth. John Cage knew the gills, striations, and pores. John Cage knew cap morphology, the fruiting body. John Cage presided over autopsies. When the rot sets in, music isn't far behind. McQueen, for Alexander McQueen. Shame is violence. You knew that. I know you through the artillery of your garments. Each bodice ripped, brazed in mud, the holy emaciation, the grateful material, ripcord hemmed in. Poor thing. So unlike most people who live in Northern California, I actually love Los Angeles. And the last time I was there was over Christmas, which is around my birthday, and it was beautiful. It's like 80 degrees. And I was in West Hollywood, and a friend of mine said the following to me, which inspired this poem. That's what I like about LA. Everyone has the opportunity to improve and have a better body. Satoshi, gay, 26 years old. Satoshi, how many pounds of muscle did you put on for the confidence it takes to be yourself or someone who looks like you? 41 for me is this, wishing I could go back to the body I had at 20, when I didn't know how coveted it was, when my nonchalance must have driven 41-year-olds wild. Now I know too much, where the moles are, when my lower back will seize, the number of stairs I can skip before I can't mask the panting, the disgust I feel whenever I look at a man who won't look back. Pho Qua is an island in Vietnam. Pho Qua. Even song. Luke calling me into the water. The breeze carrying his drunken voice through the mosquito netting where the bed numbs my body. Sheets nearly white as the sand's blank stare. We are terrestrial. The bright octaves crashing against the cellular lace of our relinquishing bodies. Men on their backs for me, on the rocky side of this island 1 hour from Saigon, where I paid a muscular man to brutalize me everywhere but the face. I never knew my skin could map such constellations. I'm going to read a little bit from Mad for Meat. San Francisco, Opus 11. Lesbians all around, in varying degrees of welcome and lamentation. We are didactic, but not all vegan, green, and slow food. Chestnut Street saturated with nail parlors, paraffin wax enough to become smooth as Asians. At Post and Larkin, perfumed and bosomed, tranny be thy names. One eyeing me, not like a gambler at his wedding ring, but like an altar boy who's discovered his relevance and will accelerate his body. High-minded and worried, we attend well-lit poetry readings and art exhibits. Independent houses we hear about on Facebook. We are disgusted with diminishing black bodies and the gym's increasing fee. Our teeth are whitened while the compost fills. We are septic and dissatisfied with our attention spans. Yet there will never be less than there is now. We have not enough parking spaces as Chinatown remains Chinese, clothes hanging from windows above fading characters, and like everywhere, delivery matters in San Francisco. When the Korean grocer on Fillmore ruins my day with insinuation, and not a word passes between us, only a price. Then I unwrap the gum to chew through hurt and anger, swallow the flavors of Hollywood and Oakland without a white lover or some other neutralizing companion to take away my strut and pointed barrels. Welcome to San Francisco. Send the visitors out so we may know them. So I got a San Francisco Arts Commission grant a few years ago to interview gay men about their sexual fetishes. And this is one of the reasons why I have to remain in San Francisco, because I can't get grants like this in the South. So this first poem is about the sexual fetish connected to smegma, which I didn't know was a sexual fetish, but it is. Uncut. This is for you, Jody.
Shut up.
When the clean-shaven one with the black Porsche asked me not to clean it, I understood the poetry in his appetite. Whatever would gather until Saturday night, the yellow and white of it. How he'd pull back the skin one stanza at a time. I'd look away from his trembling fingers, his foraging tongue, and swallow.
You're a mess.
Salvation. Leather boots, two polished exclamations that he belongs wherever he is. I squint for other memories of the tall state trooper whose silence I always matched, but this fills the frame. I raise my father through leather, ascend tightening bootstraps, summon his silence through a head harness, a mouth gag pulled tight, hoist a man's whimpers as sails. Believe me, I know what to console, what to injure and speak holy. Tell me, you've never looked at Jesus hanging there the way you look at a man before you caught yourself and averted your eyes from the blunt, brutal evidence that salvation is only possible when your God is hungry, then fed. And I'm going to end with a short cycle inspired in 1997 by this Warhol-like depiction that Jody created on Andrew Cunanan. How many of you remember Andrew Cunanan? So in 1997, he killed at least 5 people on a gay spree murder, and Versace was his final victim before he killed himself. Unearthing House, the final songs of gay spree murderer Andrew Cunanan. Latin tutor. The syllabus was clear. We would begin with the clothed outline of his body. He would then direct my study across his chest, then downward the total of my fascination. Everything I had was everything kneeled and quickened. As the pages of his body opened before me, I became a reader. And this was the greatest gift, to become literate before the body. Mardi Gras. Across the club, a man on fire, phoenix of mine, offering of Calvin Klein briefs, tight abs, and arias on vinyl. I'm fierce with house and tonic. Chiaroscuro, how they see me, feel me, taste, but never hear me. Dangerous geisha, you're so comely. Tell me, where you'd fashion that kimono so dark. Aperture. I grease the broken baker's pen. Look into the tiny hole where the end piece used to be, now clogged with skin, dried shit, blood, and lube. you filthy motherfucker, just to loosen you up. Trim my nails, get the gloves, vat of grease, make a wish, I'll make a fist. Song of David. Amulet and apricot, give my voice an expensive, leathery sound. It never grows dull, this life, everything fulfilled with imagination. Granted, a father who worked in the Marcos regime isn't glamorous, but half a world away it delivers your hands from calluses and blood, if only temporarily. Pardon me, but didn't we meet at one of David's parties? Yes, David Matson, yes. He was found on the edge of a lake in Rush City, just north of Minneapolis. Obad. Possessing you seems impossible now. Your eyes, closed, scan over my body, useless and contracted, hell-bent on morning relevance. Last night, our bodies seemed endless. Am I your Renaissance wench, parting mouthfuls of hair in your lap? This morning, as penance, I'll take whatever you give. A date on the bay. Think they fucked like animals on Alcatraz? I mistook the plaid Brooks Brothers shirt, polo khakis, and Lexus for polish. I put on my Ray-Bans, blackening the bay on a date going nowhere. Yeah, he said. What else would all those men do for recreation? Yes, I said. Conjuring poison to its anti-serum, our only alchemy. He smiled with blackened teeth. That's when I wanted him to die. Après moi, le déluge. One translation. After me, the flood. Another. After me, disaster. From Middle French, disastre. From Italian, disastro, ill-starred. From Latin, astrum. From Greek, astron, a calamity blamed on a bad star. That is my sign. What's yours? Aria on vinyl. Sipping tea with Versace, and I see him beyond skin and insignia. My final brooch. I am plaid and khaki. He, the whole world. Fail safe. I will take my life, make it entirely mine. I don't bend, I can only be broken. It will be entirely done. Thank you.